Hello and welcome to Object Lessons, our regular look at individual items from the collection here at the Whitaker Museum in Rossendale. Not a particularly surprising item for us this week. You might be mistaken for thinking that it was a sewing box, but it is a tea caddy. There it is. Now, it's the kind of thing that if you're a fan of period dramas or daytime antiques programmes, you're probably throwing around phrases like Regency period, rosewood veneered and sarcophagus shaped, like some sort of bargain hunt expert. It's Regency period because it was made at the time when we had a Prince Regent on the throne rather than a king or a queen. It's rosewood veneered because this wood, thin strips of wood that are used to cover the box, apparently smell like roses when they're cut. And it's sarcophagus shaped because we had a great interest in all things from Egypt, because in the late 1700s Napoleon invaded Egypt and all other kind of design styles permeated through Western Europe. As an example of a museum item, it's not great, I have to say. If we pick it up, we'll see immediately that it has a replacement foot. Very crude replacement foot indeed, that doesn't quite stick on. It's got a crack in the top, it's got numerous scratches around it, and when we open it up we will see that whilst it's got its two original tin lined containers, one would have been for black tea, one would have been for green tea, it's actually missing a bowl in the middle which would have been used for sugar. So, has it got a place in the museum? Well, possibly. It really depends on the role of museums in showing objects and the stories that we can attach to those objects. If we go back to the sugar bowl, the reason that there was a sugar bowl here in the first place was because people needed to sell sugar. And why did they need to sell sugar? Well, it's because we had slavery. At the time this was made, which is about 1820, the slave trade was coming to an end, but still very much in existence. It didn't cease until 1833. At the time this was made, the tea that would have been in it would only have come from China. Tea production in India didn't really start until the 1840s, and that was through the intervention of the British East India Company, a huge government-sponsored private company, who sent a man called Robert Fortune, a Scottish botanist, into India disguised as a Chinaman to obtain samples of tea to bring back to India, but more importantly to bring back the process, because whilst tea was grown in India, it wasn't grown successfully in large quantities. So there are a number of different ways in which you can approach a tea caddy to make it a little bit more interesting or more relevant to perhaps what's going on today. But why is it called a caddy? Well, again, that's to do with the British East India Company, and a caddy was a Malay measure of weight. The Malay ports were where the British East India Company transported their tea to Britain from, and a caddy was a weight equivalent of about £1.33. So that's our object lesson for this week. It's an 1820s rosewood veneered, sarcophagus shaped tea caddy. Thanks for listening.